Hi, everybody. Thanks, Lauren, for having me. My name is Jean Marie Pflomm, and I am originally from New York, about 30 miles north of New York City. Lived there my whole life, except for my time at URI and California. But 3 years ago, we relocated to Lake Norman area of North Carolina. So I'm now a Southern girl. I graduated from URI in 1996, 25 years ago. Wow, that was quick. To be honest, I chose URI because it was a beautiful campus, a beautiful area, and the people were great. And, it was just one of those, like, when I went there and toured the school, which was Fogarty at the time, the old school building. It just was a fit. I just knew it was the place for me. It was a good school then, and it's an even better school now. So I made a good choice.
Awesome. So we can get into some of the questions. So the first question is, how would you describe your current role?
Okay, so maybe before I tell you exactly that, I'll tell you a little bit about the Medic Litter, where I work, so that'll put it in perspective. So the Medic Litter is a nonprofit organization that was founded in 1958 by a physician and an entrepreneur, two gentlemen. The entrepreneur, he also co-founded Consumer Union, which is the creator of Consumer Reports. So the two gentlemen at the time felt that physicians, that was the primary audience at the time, that they needed a source similar to Consumer Reports to give them the honest truth about drugs, just like Consumer Reports does about televisions and cars and washing machines. So they founded the Medic Litter, and we've pretty much published the same newsletter ever since, so 60 plus years. So it's, as I said, it's a nonprofit agency. We don't accept any advertising, no funding from pharmaceutical industry. We don't sell reprints to the pharmaceutical industry, so that everything is unbiased and clean. And we are also peer reviewed and a consensus publication. So we send all of our drafts out to experts in the field, the CDC, the FDA, the manufacturers competing products, so that we can get a real honest analysis of the drugs we're reviewing, whether it's an individual new drug, or it's a new safety warning on an old drug, or it's a review of drugs for, say, diabetes or heart failure. We do all sorts of stuff. So I'm the editor-in-chief of that publication and of our other products. We have an interactions program and continuing education for physicians, pharmacists, PAs, NPs. So it's my responsibility that everything that we publish, print, online, marketing, CME, et cetera, that I approve it all, that I see it all, that I'm comfortable that it's completely accurate, and that it's easy to read and easy to understand. And it's said in the shortest amount of lines possible, because we want it to be, as quick and easy for practicing working people to keep up with, but, know what's going on, but not be buried in a ton of information. I also work with multiple editors who are pharmacists and a librarian. So they do a lot of the research and the pulling of articles and study analysis and a lot of the writing and editing. But we collaborate, and I get into each article early enough that I know what's going on, and I know that we're coming out with the right message in the end.
Awesome. So if you want to tell us a little bit too about how you got to where you are now, like after graduation, what you did.
Okay, so after graduation, I went to Long Beach, California, and I did a PGY1 residency. And then I moved back east to New York, and I was an AmCare pharmacist at the VA hospital in the Bronx. Did a little bit of cardiac, endocrine, HIV. It's a lot of fun, but my interest was always ID, so an opportunity presented itself to be a clinical coordinator infectious disease at a hospital in Long Island Jewish Medical Center. I was there for a few years, and then I was offered a position at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center to be their antibiotic management pharmacist and be on infectious disease service there. So I switched to that. Loved it. Great opportunity. After a few years, I had a baby, and I was commuting 90 minutes in each direction to Manhattan. And an infectious disease physician that I worked with at Sloan Kettering, she did consulting for the medical letter. So she offered me a position there. I started there as director of drug information. I was the only pharmacist there at the time. And I'm happy to say we have shown them the value that pharmacists can bring, and we have added a few more. Two are also URI alumni. Yeah, go Rhode. So we have a nice, good team there. So yeah, I've been there since 2004, but my role has changed. I became deputy editor, and then editor, and now editor-in-chief. So it's been a good road. I've enjoyed it.
And then also too, if you want to just kind of talk about like what you do on a day-to-day basis with the medical letter, like some of your responsibilities and what like a typical day kind of looks like.
Okay, so every day I start by seeing what's going on in the medical world. So review medical media, medical literature, see if there's anything we need to cover and how urgently we need to cover it. And then we're always working on articles for publication, additional tables, continuing education, drug interactions. So there will be, a lot of reading. Sometimes I write articles from scratch. Most often somebody else does, but sometimes I do. If they're ID, I tend to write those to keep my interest up in that area. And yeah, I do a lot of reading of literature, as I said, writing, editing. We reach out to the consultants in the field that review our articles for us, and we discuss, some of their comments or their points, make sure we're getting their viewpoint correct. I collaborate with our team. I work with marketing. We review social media posts and marketing materials. So it's a little bit of everything. It gets a little hectic. We do go to press with print every 2 weeks. So that's more of a rush turnaround. And then it's like looking, at every comma and line and space. But so it's a little different every day, but it's fun.
That's awesome. I was going to say, it sounds like you do like a little bit of everything, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then also, so I know you said that you did a residency. So did you have any other like additional training that allowed you to succeed in your position?
To be honest, no. I had my foundation from my coursework and rotations at URI, and from my other positions after that. Medical writing is not difficult when you understand what you're writing about. And I think particularly as pharmacists, we are trained translators into taking, some complicated information and explaining it in a succinct, clear way. So I think those skills I had, but I have to be honest, I I've avoided reading and writing my whole life. I just liked science and math and medicine. So this was really foreign to me. So I did have a lot of on-the-job training. My boss and mentor, he's been, well, he was the editor-in-chief um, since I think 1972. And so he has taught me all of the ins and outs of grammar and punctuation and parentheses, and et cetera. And so I've picked it up along the way, and now I can hold my own. But it took some time.
And so what's like your favorite part about your job? Like, what do you love like the most about it?
Um, well, I would say when I was leaving my clinical job, I was sad and worried that I wasn't going to, affect patient care anymore or have any impact. And so I think the part that I like the most about my current position is that I'm impacting patients, but on a different magnitude. I mean, there's 300,000 people that we know of that get the medical letter. So what we put in print is absorbed by physicians, NPs, PAs, pharmacists, and they tell us. They write in, they email, they write letters, they call. They will tell us that what we have said has changed how they practice, or changed how they prescribe, or changed patient care. And when you get those, you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Like we have to make sure we get everything right, because we're really making a difference. So I think that's the most rewarding part for me, is when when you're sort of sitting now in your house doing all of this work in isolation. You can forget that what we're all doing at the medical letter is really affecting patient care.
Yeah, that's really cool. I was gonna say I didn't even think about like how much that really would affect like people, and you may not be the ones to see it directly, but you're still making a huge impact on the doctors and nurses and NPs and all of them who are then prescribing things considering based upon maybe like what you have like in your writing, which is really cool to think about too.
Yes,
And
scary but
then
cool.
yeah, really cool. I think it's really cool. And how, like, would you say URI prepared you for your role?
URI definitely gave me, the foundations, the coursework. When I went to URI way back when, um, the Pharm.D was a post-grad degree. So we were actually the first class that transitioned before graduation and finished with a Pharm.D in 6 years. Um, so for my last 2 years, there were only 8 of us. Dr. Lisa Cohen from URI, she was one of them, my friend and colleague. So she was one of our small groups. So in a group that size, we really had, great ratio of professor to student. So we had a lot of personal attention. A lot of our stuff was in cases, and you weren't in a big lecture hall learning therapeutics. So it was very intimate, and your feedback was immediate, and the professors were great. I think I became more prepared by going on rotation. Um, I had Dr. Hume, Dr. Dufresne, Dr. Galecko. She was at the VA. She's not there anymore. She did HIV and ID. I had Dr. Charpentier. That wasn't her name then. But so they were my clinical rotation professors, and they were all, so impressive and so smart, and they were just, I don't know, it was inspirational to see how their colleagues admired them and listened to what they said, and they were integral parts of their teams. And so, it really, that part gave me the, more of the drive and the knowledge too, but, more of the drive to want to do better and improve patient care and outcomes. So yeah, I definitely felt prepared to go into whatever I was going to go into after leaving URI.
Yeah, I feel like even though the classes now are so much bigger, it still feels really like personal one-on-one. Like we do have those classes where we do cases and things like that, which are still like kind of keeping it like having that like relationship with professors, being able to ask questions and things like that. So I think it's really great to see even however many years later, like it's still kind of the same like way with everybody. And then
Yeah,
my
and those
last question
professors
for you.
are all great. I mean, you know, we still see them at different meetings pre-COVID, and a lot of them contribute to the medical letter. They're, you know, on our peer review team, so they're, you know, they're still helping me out with what I do. So they're
That's
great.
so cool. It's like it comes full circle almost.
Yeah.
And then my last question is just if you had any advice for any incoming or current students.
Yeah, I would say I have 2 points of advice. And some URI people may have heard me say them before. But the first one comes from Dr. Hume, who would always say, don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but I'll look it up and get back to you. I feel like I have carried that forever because it made such an impression that, you know, you may want to look smart and say what you think off the top of your head, but that may go directly into a patient, which if you're wrong is not good. And you'll never gain the trust of that colleague again. They'll never ask you anything if, you know, if you give the wrong answer once. So I sort of live by that even in my, you know, writing life, right? It's like, if we're not 110%, which I know that's not right, but if we're not 110% sure that it's correct, we don't put it in print because we are not risking our reputation or, you know, or a patient's life. So, so that's my first piece. The second one is more, you know, a life thing of, you know, keep your eyes and ears open and open to opportunity. You know, my chance to join the medical letter, I may have dismissed entirely because I didn't see, you know, how it was going to satisfy me sort of clinically and career wise. You know, I could have just said, oh, I don't want to read or write, you know. So I'm glad I got out of my comfort zone and took that leap and did it. Otherwise, you know, who knows where I would have been. But I think it's important, especially for pharmacists, because you tend to, you know, sort of look one way and you know, think everybody's going to end up in the same place. But there's so many opportunities for us. We're just, you know, we're a well-trained, hardworking group of people, and there's plenty of opportunities for us out there.